Hey guys, WTR here with a look at Rokusho from the anime Medabots. For those of you not familiar with Medabots, it ran about a decade or so ago. It was about custom robos, customizable robots, which are kind of big over in Japan, called Medabots, who along with their human partners competed with some sort of a tournament, and ultimately it turned into a whole you've got to save the world sort of thing. If that does sound familiar to a lot of people, it's just because it's such an overused plot point, especially in the case where it's a video game turned anime, such in the case of Medabots. Now, there were three really big robots in the show. Metabee, which I saw and didn't pick up. I sort of regret that now. But he was partnered with Ikki. These two were the main characters. Rokusho, who didn't really have a master or Meta Fighter, I believe it was called. And then Sumilodon, who was partnered with some rich jackass. But yeah, my favorite one on the show was Rokusho here, just because he had a really cool looking character design, in addition to having this cool sword/claw clamp thingy. A little bit dusty because he's sat in my desk for years. Now, in addition to having like a line like this, there are also a bunch of 3-inch figures. I forget this dude's name, but the cool thing about these were, all these were called custom robots because you could take parts, mix and match them. In this case, this was actually also a game, and each of the parts had points values assigned to it. Like this arm was worth 29, this arm's worth 19. I'm not sure why his left arm's worth more than his right arm when they look identical, but whatever. His head's worth 59, and the body and lower torso apparently have no value, but this one was actually from a larger sort of model kit thing. And the sort of neat thing about this is, just like on the show, there's a bare bones skeleton underneath this, and you actually assemble the pieces, which is why you see all these little things sticking out that's just flash that I wasn't able to cut off at the time. And I haven't really bothered since. Off. One second. Alright, so I'm sorry I couldn't treat you guys to a robot strip show. I know some of you are probably really disappointed right now, but I hope you'll get over it in time, just because it would have taken a massive amount of time and effort to actually film this stuff being done. And honestly, I don't even think I'm going to take off all the armor, just in case I might break it. In fact, when I was removing pieces, I thought I heard myself drop something. I don't see anything missing so far, but, only time will tell when I go to put stuff back on. At any rate, this should basically be enough to give you some idea of what the base form/skeleton or whatever looked like. By the way, it also came with a alternate hand, which is just a kind of white glovish hand. I know where it is. I could retrieve it, but it would take a bit of time, so if I find the box, I'll display it with the alternate hands and stuff, and just do that in a separate video, but for now, no. As you can see, we have all these little peg holes across it, all these parts, so each of these frames is designed to accommodate the parts from any robot, so this could have obviously they can be full units, or you can just toss like Metabee's head on this, Melodon's arm, and so on. Now you're probably looking at this and you're saying, WTR, this thing must have an incredible amount of articulation, and you would be absolutely wrong. Unfortunately, it doesn't have nearly as much articulation as it would suggest. For one thing, as soon as you start putting pieces on, the range of motion goes far down because we have all this extra plastic, so the head, which can normally go down a pretty fair deal, suddenly starts going down a little bit less, and then these big bulky plates are what keeps it from being like ball jointed. If they actually had bothered to make it more ball jointy. It does have the range of motion there, but it also has a rotating bicep, which is a kind of nice touch. Now, whereas this thing doesn't have a normal hand, it's because it snaps directly into these units. I believe it's the same on all of them. You'll notice it kind of looks like a Kinect's body. Fit in there. Yeah, I'll put those pieces on later. On the lower body, the articulation is slightly better. We have a literal ball joint here, so you can kind of get a pivot in and outward, which you don't get on the upper body, which is kind of a shame. But due to the plate and the fact that it is just a physical ball, the kicking motion doesn't really go all that far out there. Then, it's just a normalish knee. Now, one of the big problems with this figure is the fact that the stickers don't stick that well for the smaller ones, and you have all these stupid stickers and decals you have to attach. It doesn't automatically come on it. And they don't necessarily line up correctly when you're trying to put them on, especially if you happen to be clumsy. So I actually have Scotch tape on this, which is one more reason why I don't tend to remove a lot of parts. Let me quickly reassemble him and then I'll continue. Now the one other area of customization is right here in the back. They actually do have the medals just like on the show. For those of you not familiar with it, the medal is the proverbial soul of the unit. It's a coin/microchip thingy which contains the personality/programming of the Metabot, and when defeated, the Metabot's coin would pop out. Also, the winner would get a part from the defeated Metabot, so that's where the customization aspect comes in. Now the show had a very different style of animation, which I kind of liked. It was sort of refreshing. But as for the figures, this is basically just your normal custom Robo stuff. So if you're into this, it might be a cool buy. The one real drawback, again, is these stupid little sticker decals. I wish they would have painted them on, but some people don't necessarily like them. They'd rather just paint on their own decorations, so I can totally understand that. If you can find this, you're interested, I definitely would say it's probably worth a look. But I doubt you're going to just find these things lying around. You probably have to actually go out and look for them. Until next time, folks.